What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Not that the days of the week matter anymore, but glad you guys could join. And today's going to be rad because we have Colin O'Brady joining us today. And that dude walked across Antarctica on his own, pulling his own sled. So we're going to hear from him. Bringing him in now. Hey, Colin, you declined me. Can you request me again, bud? Said Colin O'Brady declined. Now we're really in for it. Now we're in technical difficulty world. We'll see how we fare. See if we can make it through. I think probably. Oh, here it is. I have faith this one's gonna work. I can feel it in the ethers. There it is, my man. What's going on?
I didn't mean to reject you, brother.
That's all right. I've had a few of those in my life. I think I'll survive.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. You know, the thing is, like, I'm writing my book right now, so it was gonna be quarantine for me, anyways, right? Like, there's no other way for me to write a book like around a bunch of people. I gotta go into like full isolation, hermit, cave mode. So now it's just that the whole world's doing it with me. So I feel like very like, oh, like everybody's doing
solidarity.
Solidarity. That's what I'm fucking saying. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm here in Oregon at the Oregon coast. This is kind of my quiet place, my creative place. It's actually where I wrote most of my book. Was out here. So family's had a house here out for a long time. So it's a quiet place. Just me and my wife holed up in this self-quarantine. You and I were hanging out like 3 weeks ago.
I know, right?
It was like not a big deal. It was like,
the world was normal. We were working out.
Like
we were doing
early
shit.
March, and now it's like everything changed. So, but yeah, man, things are good. Things are good.
Good. I mean, I think for you and I, like this quarantine thing, I mean, you walked across Antarctica. How many days did it take you?
54 days. 932 miles pulling a 375-pound sled and completely alone. So I've spent some time in some deep isolation before, man.
So like, how much better is this shit than that? You know what I mean? Like, this is so much easier than doing that.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, you've done some deep isolation, the meditations,
right?
the dark room that you were telling me about. I mean, you know what's up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think for both of us who've like put ourselves in adversity at regular times, like compared to Antarctica and waking up every day hungry as shit, you know, and I'd love for you to tell that story, you know, a little bit to some of the people who don't know, but like compared to Antarctica, this is a fucking circus of comfort and pleasure being in your home. Right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, it's different because the whole world's not doing it at the same time. People aren't dying. You know, obviously the things happening right now are pretty serious out in the world. But at the same time, you know, certainly. So I, you know, in 2018, pulled a sled across Antarctica completely by myself. It was called unsupported, so basically no resupplies of food or fuel. So in my sled, I had to put all my food to take with me the entire time. So I'm pulling this heavy sled, full of food behind me, and I don't really have enough to make it the entire way. So that versus I'm looking over at my fridge full of food right now, and you know, warm house and the heat's on, all that feels pretty different. But yeah, Antarctica was about minus 25 degrees on an average day. It was brutal, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any of those special bars that you were telling me about? Do you have any of those saved up?
I have a few at my other house saved up, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So I work with this nutrition company. Sorry, I wasn't on it, but
we wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. So
yeah,
it's all good.
Work with this amazing company, Standard Process, who created this custom bar. So they like tested all of my sort of genetic makeup. We did all these blood tests over the course of the year to create this perfect custom food for what I would need for pulling the sled across Antarctica. It was crazy, and they called them the Colin bars. That was the name of them. But basically, there was these bars. They're about this big, the size of like an iPhone or something like that, and they each one of them had 1,100 calories. Like it was serious survival food, but it was amazing, man. It worked really well, even though I lost about 30 pounds or so while I was out there. I was burning about 10,000 calories a day, but I was eating only about 7,000 because that's all I could carry with me in my sled.
Except for that one fateful day when
That's
you're
right.
like, that one fateful day where you're like, fuck it, I'm going to eat extra bars.
There was a fateful day. There was
It was
a very
a fateful day. This is
I
what
was-
happens when you're rationing food and you decide, fuck it. Even an expert, world record holder like you, sometimes you just say, fuck it, I'm hungry.
Yeah. I'll back into the story, but basically there was I was starving every single day, and I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and I'm kind of in this I mean, I've been alone for so long. Like I was looking back at some old video clips of me from it. Like I am like losing my mind out here. I'm like hallucinating. I'm losing my mind. And I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just so hungry, and I reach over into my duffel bag and I just grab a handful of the Colin bars and just start shoving them like down in my face, which is a really dumb thing to do because I don't have any like excess with me. It's like I'm just eating tomorrow's food basically.
No, and there's no like hunting and gathering.
No, they're not like, oh, let me like have that. So like I wake up in the following morning, I'm like, shit, I just ate today's food. I'm really gonna be starving now. But then the worst part about it is, as well as the testing was, as well as my body was perfectly dialed to have 7,000, like these bars were not built for me to eat excess of them, particularly all at once in the middle of the night. So I wake up and my stomach is like kind of gurgly, but I'm like, I'll be all right, like no big deal. And I keep going. But in Antarctica, it's minus 25 degrees, right? Like I've got like this whole suit on. It's like all rigged up. It's like kind of hard to get on and off. And I have a zipper to go pee, but I'm not planning on like,
Yeah, I'm imagining it being like a spacesuit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like basically
like
overalls with a jacket over top, and then my harness is strapped on. It's like a lot of buckles and clips. It's like a whole situation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's this extra food in my belly, and it starts gurgling. And I think we can know where this story is headed. But pretty quick, I'm like, I got to take a shit, but I can't get my clothes off like fast enough, and it's freezing, and I don't want to like expose my ass to this freezing cold. And so, you know, I shit my pants. I'm just going to say it. I shit my pants. And let me tell you, when you are in Antarctica by yourself, I was trying to save on weight, so I actually only brought one pair of underwear with me the entire time. So I didn't have a change of underwear. I had 10 wet wipes that I had with me to like save for special occasions. And I was like, I think this is a special occasion. But it was nasty, and I've been fortunate to make some headlines across the world in some of my world record projects. But recently, I tell this story in my book that I just put out, and a big headline that went like viral, especially all across Europe for whatever reason, was "Man shits his pants while walking across the border." They're like reviewing my book, and it's like, yeah, it's a cool book. But the headline is like so. You know, people love to talk about that shit. But,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look, who hasn't shit their pants? I shit my pants. I shit my pants in Erewhon once. I was like,
really?
That was the worst. It's like a grocery store out.
Yeah, I know it.
I know
Venice. It. Yeah.
And like I was like a long walk away from home. I'm like, fuck. Like, what do you do? Because like they have like the public kind of restrooms, you know, where there's like you gotta shit in your stall, and then you gotta like go out to like where everybody else washes their hands. And so it was a complicated situation where like of course you have to just ditch the underwear and then clean off.
In my case, I couldn't, bro. The only thing I have with me for the whole 2 months, bro. They're like, you're in Venice. You're like, whatever. I'll just go pick up a new pair of drawers. But I couldn't, man. I had to.
But the walk between going to the bathroom with a pair of underwear in my hand to throw in the trash where the paper towel dispenser is, like everybody knows what that means. Who throws their underwear away in Erewhon for no reason? There's only one reason you do that. It's because you shit your fucking pants. That's the only reason.
Bro, I still had another 6 hours of walking that day till I could clean myself up, bro. Talk about chafing, man. It was if I took my pants off out there, I would get frostbitten, man. Like, it's serious. This is life or death.
Oh, man. So what are your other stuff? You were talking about some kind of rowing thing you were doing when we were out there?
Yeah, so after I finish the Antarctica project, I'm gonna shout my book out real quick.
Do that.
There it is. I just wrote this book, came out 3 months ago, just at the New York Times bestsellers list. You're an author, you're writing your second book, but poured my heart and soul into this. So yeah, it's about my Antarctica crossing, but really it's about my whole life, really. And in the way that I think that you love to share your stories in a meaningful way, it's like you share your story with a way to actually inspire other people. You know, this isn't just a story of me doing this epic thing, you know, setting this world record, etc. Like I wrote it for, it's called The Impossible First, ultimately so other people can put it down and take on their own impossible first in their life, to take on their own challenges. Because I believe as humans, we all have reservoirs of untapped potential inside of us to achieve amazing things. Rugby's saying, what's the book called? There it is, The Impossible First. After that, this past year, just a few months ago, I took on this rowing challenge. So I rowed a boat, me and 5 others, so I wasn't alone this time, but we were the first people ever to row a boat across Drake Passage. So that's from the southern tip of South America all the way to Antarctica, which is 700 miles. Drake Passage is basically thought to be the most, rough stretch of ocean in the entire world. 40, 50-foot swells, icebergs, like the whole deal. People are saying there's a bad echo on here. Is that bad for you?
I don't hear it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just connection.
Yeah. So anyways, in a rowboat, man. So basically through the middle of the night, 24 hours a day for 2 weeks, we were rowing this boat through these, ocean waves, swells, everything. It was crazy. It was wild. And did
you guys take shifts of who would sleep and who would row? Or did you just not sleep?
Yeah. So it was 6 of us. There was 3 spots for rowing. It was basically 90 minutes on, 90 minutes off, 90 minutes on, 90 minutes off, the entire time. So yeah, it was basically nonstop rowing.
Yeah. Damn, man. That's fucking gnarly. And then how are you sleeping as you're going through all those swells?
So basically the rowboat, you can check it out on my Instagram. There's pictures of it. And also we did this really cool documentary with Discovery Channel, which is coming out really soon. But there's like some short videos that they posted on their website. You can see the boat, but it's a small boat. Like it's a 29-foot boat. And there's this like just tiny little compartment that I'm like sleeping in. So there's no bed. There's no like proper like, nice like indoors. It's like I'm like jammed inside this like little hole, and it's like shaking around like the entire time. The boat is just smashing around. And so yeah, man, it wasn't like there was uncomfortable. And then we were wet from day one. Like day one, we're soaking wet, we're soaking cold, it's brutal. And it basically wet and cold inside this little box for 90 minutes and just kind of sleep for a few minutes and then boom, come back out and start rowing again.
Damn. And you're not like, I mean, I was in the gym with you, like you're a good athlete, but it's not like you're like a rowing expert. It's not like you came in there and you were like Rich fucking Froning from the CrossFit Games, and you're just hitting the fucking rower and just like destroying the world there. You just decided you're just going to do this.
So like it's really the opposite, because like I believe, and I know from a lot of stuff you've done, you've gone deep into the mind and a lot of things in your, and I mean, for me, as physical as I am as an athlete, like I believe the strongest muscle any of us has is the 6 inches between our ears. Like it's in the mind. And so, with my previous world records, the Antarctica crossing, there's a couple big mountaineering projects and world records I set doing that, like those are things that I had some level of expertise in. Like granted, I might not have been like the most experienced, but I kind of built up to it. But I had this idea though with the rowing project. I was like, can I try to do something that I've never done before, that I don't have any expertise in at all? And the truth is, I've never rowed a boat anywhere in my life. Like not at like summer camp, not at like, not collegiate. Like I've never been on a rowing boat before ever. And so I set this goal to see like, could I in a very short period of time train, learn this new skill, and then ultimately, set a world record. In the project, we ended up setting 6 world records actually in this project. But my first time rowing a boat was like August, and I'm rowing a boat across Drake Passage in December. So it was like a quick like runway, like ready, set, go. But it's this idea of growth mindset, right? I think too often that people limit themselves. They're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at X. Like, I mean, I know, for talking with you, like you've never written a book before until a couple years ago, but you weren't like, well, I'm not an author, I can't write a book. In fact, like you sat down and wrote a book. It's a New York Times bestseller. Like, at some point, you can learn new skills, adapt, evolve, whatever that is. And I think that people too often have these limiting beliefs that's like, I can't do this. Like, this isn't great. This isn't going to work for me. And so the rowing project was really that, to see like, can I do something completely outside of my comfort zone, something I've ever done before? And yeah, it worked out.
That's where you find that kind of strength and that courage is in the unknown. You know, it's like if someone's a really good runner and they go run a marathon, like, all right, like, cool, you did what you're an expert at, like, great.
Yeah.
But it's when you like face the unknown where you don't know. Like, I didn't know how I was going to handle 6 days in the darkness and the silence and isolation. Like, how the fuck do you know that unless you do it?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know, you know. And I think that's where you get so much benefit, is just pushing yourself past those areas where you're comfortable. Because yeah, for some people running a marathon, even me, like finishing a marathon, I'm not a long distance runner, you know, I'm a good sprinter, but
yeah,
fucking long distance, like that would be an accomplishment I would be proud of, you know. But
hell
for
yeah.
other people who just run like 10 miles a day, like whatever, you know, but could they do something else that's different? You know, it's like about finding a thing that's not your sweet spot of discomfort, but like that new territory of discomfort.
100%. It's that idea. Growth comes outside the comfort zone. I definitely believe that. Or can you step outside of that? I do have a running challenge that I'm about to kick off here on the first of this month.
You're a wild man.
I think you should join, man.
No,
I think
man,
you should
no.
join.
No.
I think you should join.
Share it with me anyways.
Or at least some of the people listening should join.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jesse Itzler, who's obviously a mutual friend of both of ours.
See, he's a really good runner.
He's also my business partner in the 29 event series that we do. So he did something in February called the Calendar Club. Did you see that on his Instagram?
That was fucking incredible. He ran like 1 mile every single day, adding another mile every single day of the
So
month.
for the month of February, it was like February 1st, he ran 1 mile. February 2nd, 2 miles. February 10th, 10 miles. February 29th, it was leap year. He did 29 miles. So I'm taking on the challenge in April. I'm doing we call it the Calendar Club. So every day in April, I'm going to run 1 mile further. So April 1st, 1 mile, April 2nd, 2 miles. And then Jesse and I together, at the end of it, we're trying to get people to participate. A bunch of people have signed up to be a part of the Calendar Club with us. And for every person that completes 1 day, each one of the days, we're going to donate a meal, up to 10,000 meals to the first responders out there, to nurses, doctors, people on the front lines fighting the coronavirus. We've got a lot of people already signed up.
Dude,
so
I got the first 5 days on lock.
All right, dude, put your hands up if you're going to join us. Put your hands up.
Sure.
We're doing the Calendar Club. It starts on April 1st. I'm going to put a bigger announcement on my Instagram tomorrow with like all the details. But there's a couple ways people can participate. So obviously doing the whole thing is amazing. But the other way people can participate is the little intermediate step is kilometers instead of miles, which takes it to about 60%. So the last day of the month, you're doing like 18 miles. So that's maybe a little more realistic. Maybe you want to do kilometers. The other way is for how people doing it as a team. Meters. Inches. The next one is inches.
Sprinting that many meters every day.
But the other one is a team. So like you get a team of 3, 4 people, 4 people. You divide the miles up between all of you. So the last day is 7.5 miles each basically. But we're just trying to get a lot of people in this time when look, we're socially isolated. One of the few things, at least in the state that I'm in right now, we're still allowed to go outside and exercise alone. But in this digital space, like having these conversations like this, like how can we get people kind of moving their bodies? And with the largest thing, we're excited to be able to donate a bunch of meals as it relates to this to the people to me, the heroes of this moment, which are the doctors, the nurses, the first responders, etc. Moro's Photos is asking if he can drive. I don't think driving is one of the requirements. but yeah, so dude, do the Calendar Club with us, or at least do part of it, man. We'd love to have you.
Oh man, I got the first 5 days.
All right.
And day 5 is gonna be hard because 5 miles is a lot for me.
Bro, I seen you in the gym, man. I mean, I guess you're more of like a high intensity type of dude. Yeah,
I'm definitely more of a sprint, high intensity, high power type of guy. What else, man? What other crazy shit? What other crazy shit besides this? This is just something that you're doing in the meantime. But you got any other are you looking around at the world like what is this crazy fucking thing I could do? I mean, you've kind of exhausted the Antarctica angle. I think you gotta kind of venture
No,
off from
I'm
that part
moving
of the
away
world?
from Antarctica. I don't think I'll be going back to Antarctica, at least for a little while. My wife and I were actually planning on climbing Everest this April, May. I've climbed it once before, but it was a goal of hers that she had trained for a while. So obviously,
Cool.
we were going to climb from the Chinese side. Turns out we're not flying to China on April 9th as expected,
Weird.
to go do that. And weird. We decided that was off. So that's not happening this spring. But of course, we're looking around at what's some other challenges. I mean, the biggest thing for me, like at this point, like I said before, is like I love these challenges. Like I love pushing my body, but like I love to do it in a way that gets other people to participate, to get other people to be involved in these type of things. So
Jesse's the fucking master at that. I mean, he's so good. His
for
energy
sure.
is contagious, and his ideas and everything are phenomenal.
100%.
So you're with,
So
you're
I did
with the
this
right
thing.
dude.
I did this thing in 2018. So I already did this one, but it was a really fun one that was like a really dope world record challenge, but it got a lot of people involved. So I did this record in 2018 called the 50 High Points Challenge. So it was to climb the tallest mountain in each of the 50 U.S. states. And the record had been 42 days, so all 50 states in 42 days. And I managed to knock half the time off that and do it in 21 days. So I did all 50 states, the tallest mountain in each of 50 states in 21 days, which was like a logistical freaking nightmare, let alone actual physicalness of it. But we did this thing, we called it the Forrest Gump effect. So we invited anyone during that time, like we were posting on Instagram, like, hey, we're going to be here, we're in Kansas, we're in Colorado, whatever it is. And anyone could come join us on the trails, climb the mountain with us, climb a part of the mountain with us, meet us on the summit, whatever that is. And we had thousands of people across the country come out and participate in it. On the East Coast, where some of the mountains obviously are a lot smaller and easier, we had like young kids and families like come out and join us. So it was just a really fun thing to like do that. So as much as I love, obviously I'm proud of this. I'm proud of the book, like being out there solo, in Antarctica, pushing my body in that way is awesome. And I love doing that kind of stuff, but I also love to do stuff that like brings people in to really like participate in this. So as I'm kind of brainstorming new ideas, I've got stuff on the whiteboard written down, a bunch of ideas as it goes. So
what is anybody out there who are on the live right now? What do you think Colin should do? Or what do you think I should do? What should be our next?
I want to hear let's crowdsource some ideas, man.
Let's crowdsource some ideas and see what we should do here.
What about you, man? Are you obviously you're a badass athlete, CEO, podcast host, you corner the market on a lot of things, but like have you ever like climbed mountains? Have you ever done anything like big, like kind of like outdoor adventures, stuff like that? Or does that appeal to you?
Really the mountains that I've climbed have been in the interior of interior of my psyche. Those are the areas where I pushed it the most, from like the Iboga journeys, the darkness rituals, the ayahuasca retreats, the Wachuma Masadas, the different things, the 5-MeO, all of the different ways that I could push myself in that way. But the external, I think probably one of the biggest things recently was climbing that Mount Shnishko with Wim Hof without our shirts on.
Yeah.
Doing some of that cold. So the cold exposure stuff, I'm looking to set my own record for amount of time that I can hold my breath underneath the ice water. So that's kind of like a little, because that feels really good.
What number are you, like, what's your level right now? What are you at?
I can get I got like 2 minutes 35 seconds at about 35 degree water.
Nice.
So
that's legit. Good. So I'm going to tell to your listeners right here, I'm going to tell a little quick funny story of Aubrey. So Aubrey and I are hanging out a few weeks ago in his gym. And the Wim Hof trip that he went on, I was invited to go on it, but it was the week my book came out, so unfortunately I couldn't go. But we were talking about the trip, and Aubrey's like, oh, you ever done some of that Wim Hof breathing? And I was like, yeah, I've done a little bit of it. Actually, Wim was one of the people that blurbed my book, so that was cool of him to support the book. And you were just casually, you were like, hey, man, so like, how long is your breath hold? Like, what's up? Like, how long have you done? Just casual. Like, I was like, oh, I haven't done a lot of it, but I did 230, 245. I was pretty proud of myself. I was like, yeah, I did pretty good. And then Aubrey just kind of has this smug look on his face, like, that's cool. And I'm like, is there something you want to tell me? He's like, no, that's good, man. Good job.
No, great.
I'm like, what's yours? He's like, 4:30 or whatever, 5 minutes, just brush his shoulder off, ain't no thing.
Yeah. Well,
so you're the legend, man. You are the legend.
I can do a couple things, man. I can do a couple things. That's that spearfishing though, man. Spearfishing to me is like, it's one of my favorite activities in the world. I don't get to do it as often as I'd like, but
Yeah.
you know, that's also helped train the breath beyond that Wim Hof training.
Yeah, no,
It's
for
just,
sure. For
it's
sure.
just so rad. That's
Are
something
you
I've missed.
posted up in Austin? Is this where you're weathering the storm, Austin, your
Yep.
home? Yeah.
Yeah. I might try and go to Sedona if like the travel restrictions allow it and just
Yeah.
chill out there for a little bit because I got my ranch out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Austin for now, my man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait till we can fucking start seeing people again. You know, like I want to do a podcast with you. I want to hang out. Like I want to
hell
do
yeah,
so much
man.
shit, you know?
I know. What's the like for you, when you think about this, and like maybe to contextualize it for listeners into the journey in the mind, like, are you taking this time, as you write in the book, like you said, but you taking it as like a productive time?
Totally.
Are you like, do you feel like you've been kind of hit that stride? For me, I'll say, at least for me, I'd love to hear your answer to the question, but for me, it was like the first like week to 10 days of all of this. It was like my Everest expedition got canceled and a whole bunch of things. My book tour got canceled. And so it was kind of like dealing with like oh my God, this is real. This is all adjusting to things. But I feel like I've kind of, at least myself, tapped into kind of phase 2 right now, which is kind of like acceptance of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, I know a lot of people out there, you know, shout out to the nurses, the doctors who are actually out there like fighting this fight. Like, I don't have those skills, so unfortunately I'm not no good in helping fight that fight, but I feel very grateful that I have this space and this time with my wife and being able to dive deep on some other things. And now I'm kind of that acceptance phase of coming into this, of like, now what is the gift that the universe is giving me in this moment, you know, in this space, in this time, in this moment? Like, how does that feel? How does that feel for you? Like, what you're thinking about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a time for me to be incredibly productive. Like this is probably the deepest I've gone into a ketogenic diet. Like I'm in really high levels of ketosis, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, but now it's really easy because I have really limited food supplies. No one's inviting me out to dinners, you know, I don't have any social engagements. So like I'm eating like a really restricted ketogenic diet and I feel great. Like I just have a ton of energy. So that's been cool. So on the health front, that's been there. Training pretty much every day in my gym, cold plunging every day, breathing, you know, every day, and then fucking just writing and then doing these lives and just staying busy. But it's incredibly productive. The part that I miss is the part that I don't like is like, I just talked to this great dude named Panache Desai. He wrote a book, I think it's called You Are Enough. And like, we would totally get together and do a podcast if we could, you know what I mean? Like if we could fly and do it, and like me and you could hang out and do a podcast, and like,
hell yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, oh, come on. Like I still want to be able to do that. But pretty much other than that, you know, and maybe seeing some friends who are out of town and stuff like that. It's like, I had to hunker down anyways, because I got to write this fucking book. And it's so bad. It's so bad to write. Yeah. Like writing sucks.
Dude, it is. People say, you know, it's funny, and like people think I'm saying this as a joke, but like I've, you know, walked by myself 54 days across Antarctica. I've done some hard physical things, whatever. And I'm like, you know, it's the hardest thing I've ever done? Written a freaking book. Like sat down and actually wrote the book, and the creative process and the vulnerability. Because I didn't want to just write like, oh, here's this thing I did. Like I dove into my past and my parents' divorce and the ups and downs and the relationship hurts. Like I wanted to write the book that, it tells a story, but the why, the deep of that. And I've been journaling since I was 10, 12 years old. And so going back through all that, it was cathartic and beautiful, but it was also like a deep cut of like therapy, and also the challenge of just grammar and syntax and storytelling. I mean, there's a lot of composite parts. It's a beautiful piece of art that I'm so proud of. And I think I will write another book at some point, but it is very, very challenging. I mean, it is for me, at least for me, it was one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing I've ever done, without a doubt. And like I said, I'm proud of the outcome, but it came with a lot of diligence and hard work.
And the thing about it is I'm constantly tearing it down and then building it back up. Like I'll write a whole block, and then I'll realize like, oh, that doesn't make any fucking sense anymore. And then it's just like, I have another separate file called scraps, you know, like mastermind scraps. And I'll just put it in the scraps just in case there's a way to use it. But it's just constantly like reorganizing, tearing it down, building it up, tearing it down, building it up. It's like, there's no other art that I know that's like that, where you'll take 4 hours of work and just go like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh God,
this doesn't fit.
When I was beginning the process of writing, a writer friend of mine who's, you know, kind of a career writer said something that I took to heart. He was like, there's no done. there's just writing and rewriting and rewriting, and it's just like you're, you know, and at some point you do have to ship the product. You have to be like, okay, this is done. But like, you know, you're the type of person that's, you know, obviously been very successful in your life, and I echo that in my own way. Is where it's like you always have different ideas. Oh, can I polish this up a little bit different? Right. Can I write this a little bit better? Right. It's just like, and it's in your mind constant when you're in that creative process. Like, I know you go to bed at night, you're thinking about it. You wake up, you got an idea, you're on a run, like something pops up into your mind. Like, it's just like, it's kind of ever present, like in there, which is cool, but it's also, I mean, it's challenging. Like it is challenging.
It reminds me of getting back into it, because this weekend was when I really got into it. I was just kind of like tinkering and organizing and getting like the kind of the coat hangers to hang all the everything in, but I put in like a good 10,000 words, and nice. It reminded me, I was like, because there's one psychedelic journey that's way harder than the rest, and it's Iboga. It's just the most uncomfortable experience possible. And I remember the first time I did it, I mean, I recognized how horrible it felt then, but then the second time I did it, I was like, oh, I forgot. I forgot how fucking gnarly this is. You know, I was like, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, what did I get myself into? But, bro, but I love it, man. That's part of what I'm here to do.
You know, I'm sure if you heard this phrase like type 2 fun, type 3 fun, have you heard that before?
No.
Okay, so type 1 fun. Type 1 fun is what we all think of as fun. Like, we're having some beers, we're dancing at a club with our friends, or like we're like surfing a wave, or like it's just fun. Like you're just like, how you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm having fun, man. I'm at Burning Man, hanging out with my friend, I'm having fun. Whatever fun is to you, you know, like fun, right? But then type 2 fun is, it's not fun while you're doing it, but it's fun afterwards. So like, you know, like you climb this like super hard mountain, you get caught in this storm, it's like brutal, like out there you're like, fuck, I might die, this is terrible. But then like when you're with your buddies like a month later, you're like, bro, remember when we climbed that mountain? That was sick. Like that was awesome. Like that's type 2 fun. And then type 3 fun is, it's not fun when you're doing it, and it's not fun after. Like you're just like, that fucking sucks. But I think what you're saying with the book writing process is type 2 fun. Like it's like, it's so hard when you're doing it, and it's so challenging. But I think both of us preach this, which is like, you grow outside the comfort zone. So ultimately afterwards, you know, you're fulfilled by the process of it. And so when you look back on it, for me, when I look here at my book, I'm like, oh, I'm nostalgic. Oh, the process. It's like, but when I was writing, I was like, fuck, this sucks. This is terrible. Like,
totally. The one difference is, like you said, if you climb a mountain with your buddies, like you get to talk to your buddies about it. But writing is such a solo thing.
True.
Like those moments, I was like, you remember that moment when I was fucking walking around and I hadn't left my room all day, and I was like losing my mind? Like, there's nobody to tell it but yourself. So it's like,
you've got no one to bro down about it with.
No,
you got
like,
no one to bro
I'm
down
sure it was hard. You're like, you have no idea. That's why you can't like scuba dive alone. You know, it's like, if you scuba dive alone, it's the worst. Because
you're like, did you see that thing? It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the whole point. It's like, you know, the fucking stingray. It was right there. We could practically touch it.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So for you in this quarantine, I'm here locked in my house with my wife and my dog. So we've got some company. Are you alone? Like, you're alone in the house?
I am. Whoa, dog.
He's barking.
Responds to dog.
He heard.
Yeah, I'm seeing Whitney every now and then, but that's pretty much it. She's really like my only visitor. So we've allowed ourselves.
I gotta put my dog outside real quick, because he looks like he's seeing something outside. Did Jack? Here's, everyone can see Jack. Jack, say what's up. Hello.
That was a big dog for a very cute dog.
He is a very cute dog. I love him. I've never had a dog before until this year, and it's been a great blessing in my life. How's the sex life during the quarantine, bro?
Well, you know, it's not as robust as outside of the quarantine, that's for sure. But you know, it's fun. You know, I think that's why Whitney and I have allowed ourselves a little flexibility in hanging out. You know, so, because we're like family. So
I'm married. I'm here with my wife. We're happy as can be. Things are good in our relationship. But I've been thinking about kind of like that single life, like what's like that New York City Tinder life looking like right now?
It's looking desolate. It's looking bleak.
Like you're 25 years old and you're in New York City, and you're usually like hitting the bars, or you're like, you know, swiping right, swiping left, like whatever. like what are you doing right now? Like, what's happening?
They used to worry about like STDs, with sexually now HTD, just hug transmitted diseases. Like you can't even fucking say hello to people now. You know,
I mean, like, what are you like
transmitted
hollering
diseases.
at a girl or a guy, whatever you're into? You're hollering at them, and you're like, yo, you want to hang out? I mean, we could stay 6 feet apart, but like, you know, I mean, maybe sexting is at an all-time high. I'm not sure, but
I mean, I would imagine that everybody's using FaceTime and everybody's
someone
using
just said they went on a
fucking
digital
Zoom.
date. I want to hear more about that. Kay Frantzman, he or she went on a digital date. I guess that's cool.
I mean, we gotta adapt.
At the end, you're like having dinner over this digital date, and you're like, so can I walk you home? Like, can I? Like, do you still have like the awkward kiss at the end? Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in for it now. I'm gonna go in for that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Strange
brother,
times we're living in, man.
Strange times, but glad to be sharing these times with you, my man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm excited for the next book. You gave me a copy of your book a few weeks ago, and I've been reading through it, man. It's awesome. I love book 1, so I have no doubt book 2 is going to be amazing. I'm excited for you.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll give you an advanced look at it so you can check it out.
For sure. I'd love that.
All right. Well, much love to you, my man. Thanks for coming on here and sharing some stories and hanging out. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Well, when this is all said and done and we can actually hang out in the physical world again, look forward to doing a podcast together, man.
We're going after it.
Get another book in, get another workout in.
We'll do some breath holds.
Yeah, I know you'll make me look bad on the breath holds again. You know, you'll big time me. That's cool. But for real, Calendar Club. You're in for. Sounds like you're in for 5 days at least.
I got 5 on it.
You got 5 on it. You got 5 on it. So anyone else who's watching this, I'm gonna post tomorrow probably all the details for Calendar Club. It kicks off on April 1st, but we are running the miles of the date, and we want people to join. The more people that join, the more meals we donate out to the nurses and the doctors out there. So come join the fun of the Calendar Club, and because Aubrey can at least tap out at 5 miles.
Yep,
he's got 5.
I got 5.
Day 6. He's day 6. He's
like,
I'm going to be texting you on day 6, bro. And I'm going to be like, April 6th, man, where you at? You're like, I'm done.
And on day 6, Aubrey rested.
and then on day 6, Aubrey rested.
As the legend is told.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, much love.
Brother.
Nice to see your face as always. Man. Yeah, we'll talk soon, brother.
All right.
Peace.
Sounds good. Look forward to it. Later.